What kind of a show are you guys putting on here today?
You're not interested in art?
No.
Now look, we're going to do this thing. We're going to have a conversation.
From Chicago, this is Filmspotting. I'm Adam Kempenaar.
And I'm Josh Larson.
I've been out walking. I don't do too much talking these days.
The right song and the right scene can stop time. This week, it's our top 5 movie needle drops with Rico Gagliano from the MUBI podcast.
Plus a little golden brick spotting with It Ends and 90s movie villains. That and more ahead on Filmspotting.
Welcome to Filmspotting. Josh, this top 5, turns out we really like music. We really like movies. So when you get 3 guys together who really like music and music in movies, we had a lot to say.
We should have seen this coming. Yeah, you're right. It was kind of like doing a film spotting podcast and a music spotting podcast episode in one. So we went on a bit. This is true.
We invited Rico Gagliano from the MUBI podcast, and this season, as you'll hear, he's doing a podcast for MUBI devoted to needle drops. That's the crossover. We thought we might go long. We just didn't come up with a good strategy for it. We had to come up with a strategy for how to deal with such a long show after the fact. It took so long, in fact, that I decided to put a different shirt on. So
That's right.
Here we are.
This isn't that we're recording a few days later now.
No.
You just did a break and a costume change, basically.
I was sweating profusely. So
Yes.
we have regrouped. And what we're going to give you is part 1. I don't know that we've really ever done this other than our old top 10 shows that we used to divide into.
Right.
But you're getting part 1 here. And then depending on when you access these shows, you'll have part 2 in your feed as well. You're going to get the top 5 picks 5 through 4 and our definitions and criteria. And then later you'll get picks 3 through 1. You'll also in this show get some commentary about a very good new film called It Ends and our 90s movie villains poll. Let's go ahead and kick it back to ourselves now and welcome in Rico Gagliano from MUBI. We are very pleased to be joined now by the head of audio at MUBI, Rico Gagliano, a returning guest here on Filmspotting. Rico, how are you?
I'm so glad to be back. I couldn't, my day was going pretty good. Now it's about to get awesome.
Well, we'll see how it goes. I mean, maybe we'll let you down.
I like the confidence, Rico. Thank you for bringing that.
How could it be wrong? We're going to talk about music and movies.
What could be better indeed? And you inspired this top 5 because you have been putting out into the world, and we've been enjoying it. Side 2, Needle on the Record, Side 2. This is part of the MUBI podcast, and you first did this in 2023. What made you want to revisit this series?
Oh, I mean, if I had my druthers, this would be the series.
Maybe it could be.
I'm a music and movie geek. Yeah, this is our latest season is the second time that we're tackling great needle drops in movies. And I mean, mainly what's funny is that I think since we did the first one, first of all, the first one was really successful. So that always helps. The first season that we did of this is really successful. And then ever since then, I've been thinking about the movies that I wish that I had also had a chance to cover. We had a great time the first time. And what's funny is that I actually kept track of all the ones, you would think of something and be like, oh yeah, I would love to talk about that. None of those actually ended up being in the season for various reasons that had nothing to do with my love of them. But that was also cool because actually we did a few that I knew the movies, but I hadn't really realized how interesting and important some of the music was in them. So that was groovy.
What was the biggest discovery for you then, this time putting the season together?
It was probably the movie Belly. For those who don't know, Hype Williams' only film, Hype Williams being one of the great hip hop video directors, starting in the late 80s, I believe, and really like at ground zero for a lot of amazing music. He was based out of Queens, and like actually, in his neighborhood were people like LL Cool J. There were one of the very first music video shows, hip hop video programs was a local, I think, cable access show that came out of Queens. And he worked for the guy who created that show, had his own production company. And he worked for them and ended up doing all of these videos. He became like one of the great rap videos directors. And then in the late 90s, I think 98, he did Belly, which is this insane fever dream of a movie. It stars all these hip hop guys, Nas, DMX, T-Boz, and it's, but you know, if you think about a gangster movie, because that's what it is, it's like this gangster movie. There were a lot of those coming out. Juice, Menace to Society. Those have been coming out throughout the 90s. This movie is like the art film version of that. And I had never seen it. And it is just like stupefyingly beautiful and has had a huge impact that was unbeknownst to me on a lot of filmmakers, especially black filmmakers, because of the way that it actually photographs black skin, which many black filmmakers have since taken, like Moonlight, Barry, I'm going to blow
Barry
it.
Jenkins.
Barry Jenkins.
Yeah.
Has talked about that movie as a major sort of visual touch point, but also the opening sequence of that movie has had a big, it's been parodied, it's been aped by lots of hip hop videos and lots of directors. And it's like this opening sequence that's actually not set to a hip hop song. And that was also fascinating to me. This guy who's totally into hip hop, and it stars all these hip hop guys. You could start with any of their songs. Obviously they're in the movie. And instead he starts with this like late 80s dance track, which is the a cappella version of Soul to Soul's Back to Life.
Steady, are you ready? Are you ready? What's going on? What's going on?
Figuring out why he chose that, how important that song actually was to, and probably still is, to hip hop culture, and then the impact of that song, which is actually has a lot of space to it, and it doesn't even have a beat that comes in until very late in the song, but it's the music is the background to a robbery sequence. And the kind of audacity of taking this very quiet tune and putting it against this robbery sequence right at the beginning of your movie. And also the way that sequence is shot. It's set in a nightclub. It's a robbery at a nightclub. There's these like black lights. Anyway, all of this, the movie is just amazing to me, and is also just crazy. It's kind of, there's all this stuff going on. We talked to the guy who came up with he was one of the co-story writers of it, talking about the ideas behind it that are not necessarily even apparent on first viewing. It's like, there's a lot going on in that movie. It was a big revelation to me.
I think we've got the right person, Adam. We
already
have an excellent pick here, and we haven't even started our list.
No, it's true. And that was a discovery for me. I didn't end up getting a chance to watch the entire film, but watching that sequence, a discovery for me because it was a discovery for you with the series.
You had not heard of it?
No, I mean, I had heard of Belly, but I'd never watched that scene, and I didn't know it was such a touchstone for so many people. But came up again and again in doing research for this top 5 as well. It was on so many lists.
Yeah, it is surprising, right? I mean, there's like fashion. I was told by one of the guys that I spoke to that there was a fashion module that was based on the color scheme of this opening sequence. There's like, a pair of tennis shoes that was put out, that kind of thing.
Really?
Pretty amazing. Sneakers, sorry, not tennis shoes.
Yeah. So I would like for you to share with the audience here a couple more things. Maybe it was that one, but do you have a favorite episode this season that you put together? And maybe you alluded to this, but maybe you could share with the audience as well how you put these episodes together, because it's not just you have one person on, a guest or two, and you talk about the music. You're really putting together a whole tapestry here. I mean, you are digging into how the music is constructed and the how and the why and the who.
Thank you for giving me an opportunity to talk about this, because it's a rare opportunity to be able to do a show like this in any medium, but especially in podcasting these days. It's like an audio documentary series. So we're talking to multiple people, and we have original music. We use archival clips of stuff that was going on at the time, as well as from the movie itself. So we're weaving all this stuff together to tell the whole arc of the story of the making of the film and how it dovetails with the music. Why the music is important, why that music was chosen. In a way, this season, it was actually, I was so excited to do it. And then as I was doing it, I was reminded of the first season. It's like, oh yeah, I'm basically telling 2 stories here. It's the story of the movie and the story of the music, and I have to like ping pong back and forth between the two of them, and it was kind of a nightmare actually to put it together. A joy and a nightmare. But the ones that I like the best, this is for kind of personal reasons. The first episode of the season was for Whisper of the Heart, the Studio Ghibli animated film, which is another movie. Actually, it was recommended by one of the guys on our team who is a big anime guy. I had not seen this one. It's not actually directed by Hayao Miyazaki. It's one of his other sort of proteges that made it, his only film. And so I had not heard of it. It didn't get as much play. It was a huge hit in Japan, but not as huge a hit in the US. And it's just beautiful. It's not this kind of dreamlike movie like a lot of Hayao Miyazaki's stuff is. It's very grounded in reality. It's kind of a love story between teenagers. It's very much like I was told that the visual representation of Tokyo in this movie, if you lived in Tokyo in the 90s, you would be able to recognize, advertisements, be like, oh yeah, I know exactly where that intersection is, that kind of thing, like super detailed, realistic, but very beautiful love story. And weirdly, the kind of musical theme through the film is the originally John Denver song, Take Me Home Country Roads. Weirdly, we put out this episode, and then a few months later, the World Cup happened, and all of a sudden, everyone was talking about that because it became the U.S. soccer team's like anthem. It's other teams' anthems in the U.K., by the way. I think Arsenal. And by the way, it may not be Arsenal, and people right now are screaming if I've got that wrong.
Careful.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm not a sports dude. But that song, personally, for me, I think that song.
I thought it was Manchester, and it is in fact Manchester United.
It's Manchester. I'm sorry. Should I go back and retake it? Or just gonna leave me out there?
Let's run with it.
Okay, I'm dead man. So I grew up though in West Virginia as a really young kid. And Take Me Home Country Roads, Almost Heaven, West Virginia is the first line of it. So it's totally embraced by people in West Virginia. And I think John Denver, maybe even before the Beatles, was one of the first like pop musicians that I was into as a really little kid. And by doing this episode, talking about that song, I got to interview the guy who co-wrote it. And that was just, first of all, he's a great guy. He's like in his 80s, and he's just totally got it together, remembers every single detail about coming up with it. He's like one of these really great folk singer type dudes. And it just has all these stories about John Denver, but also learning about the history of that song and how many versions of it came out almost immediately, because this was John Denver's first hit. Nobody knew who he was. So to make it a global hit, they gave it to all these other people. There's the Toots and the Maytals version. The movie opens with Olivia Newton-John's version, which was apparently huge in Japan, and probably why they used it in the first place. And then also talking to the teenage daughter of the producer for Studio Ghibli, who was the one who wrote the Japanese lyrics for Take Me Home Country Roads for the film, and how they subvert the meaning of the song, which seems like this very nostalgic song about going back home and how great it will be back home. She takes the lyrics and turns it into being about, I'm not going to go back home, even though that would be nice. I'm going to persevere and move forward into the future kind of thing. And why that would be something that a teenager in the 1990s in Japan would want that song to say is also fascinating. Anyway, so it was just like learning about this tune that has been with me since I was a little kid, and like seeing how much of a deal it is all over the world.
Sure. Well, I still have a few episodes left in the series, but I'm enjoying it so far. I hope our listeners will seek it out. You can get the MUBI podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And
thanks.
Let's jump in to our needle drops. Josh, we can come back to Rico as our needle drop expert here in a moment, but of course our usual approach is we like to define the top 5 list. I don't know if we need to define what a needle drop is, but that's how we usually do it, and we establish our criteria. And I'll start with you, but when I was thinking about this, I always kind of took for granted I knew what a needle drop was. And then I started looking around. I'm looking at some different lists online. I found one from Fader, thefader.com. They had the 100 best needle drops in film and television history. And I'm looking at the list and I'm thinking, I'm seeing some here that didn't strike me as what I thought was maybe a needle drop. And then I read their definition, and it seems so broad. And this is what they said: a piece of diegetic or non-diegetic music that enhances the mood, flavor, and or narrative of the film/show. And I'm like, okay, so a needle drop
That's wrong.
I mean, it's just any pre-recorded music, and that kind of seems to be what a lot of sites were going with. And I almost, Josh, went with, or was going to force myself to go with, a needle drop being, it had to be completely non-diegetic. That a needle drop for me was a filmmaker is the one dropping the needle, right? Like they're dropping it over the film is the way I almost thought of a needle drop. Not that that was the right definition, but that was going to be my definition. I didn't end up setting that restriction, and I actually only ended up with one, I think, that was truly completely non-diegetic. So we'll see as we get through our list. How did you end up defining it?
I had a very similar experience where I thought we didn't need to think much about this one. It was obvious. And then when I sat down, I realized, the non-diegetic, diegetic question came up. The opening credits sequence came up to me. Do I set those aside? And as usual, what happens is I needed boundaries to winnow down my list to justify, for me, setting some things aside. So I largely did avoid opening credits, I think. I also went in search of a handy definition. I found one, Adam, that's maybe not quite as specific, but I did use as a guideline for not only my choices, but organizing the order of my list and thinking about how these songs were actually working in the context of the film. So this comes from the Hollywood Reporter, a 2025 roundup of the top 40, appropriately, I think they probably chose that, top 40 of all time, they said. And this was co-written by Scott Roxborough and Patrick Bresky. Here's their definition of a needle drop: the use of a pre-existing track that complements, collides with, or completes the images on screen, creating something bigger than either alone. So I loved that.
I like that.
Narrowing in on complements, collides with, or completes, because it just gave me a way in to think about the use of the song. Didn't really restrict me from choosing an opening credit sequence if I wanted to. Wouldn't be surprised if the two of you might have that.
Sure.
So yeah, it painted a way forward. I don't think it's the end all be all definition, but it was helpful to me because this is a massive topic with so many amazing choices.
Yes.
I just needed something to cling on to.
Well, I don't know that actually helps you narrow anything down. That still opens you up to almost the entirety of great needle drops.
It's not more specific, but it does. The way it helped me narrow down is, there are great songs that are dropped into a movie that we love.
Yes.
If it didn't really do one of those things distinctly, and compliment is a little broad, right?
Yes.
I mean, obviously every song chosen, it wouldn't make our list if it didn't compliment it in some way.
But I understand.
But I do think the notion that a needle drop can work differently was helpful to me.
Okay. Rico, you're our expert. How did you define it? How did you define it? How did you approach your top 5?
I don't think I get the final say on any of these things. You're both, perfect gentlemen and very wise, and I think that there's legitimacy to both your approaches. If that's as wishy-washy as it sounds, I apologize.
This is why we love having you on the show, Rico.
You know what? You guys are great. Your hair, if anyone could see it, oh my gosh.
Keep going.
I like that. What Life Itself, great movie.
Yeah,
I see that movie poster behind you, Adam.
Impeccable taste in decor.
Excellent choice in docs. One thing though, Adam, Bruce, can you reread yours?
It was a piece of diegetic or non-diegetic music that enhances the mood, flavor, and or narrative of the film/show, because they included television as well.
Okay, the problem that I have with that is that it's got to be, I go more with Josh only in the sense that I do think it has to be pre-existing. The idea is that you're taking something that existed outside the world of the movie beforehand, and now you're using it to bring into the world of the film.
And quite frankly, maybe if I look back at the list, that was spelled out somewhere before that, but I'm quoting from the list, and it's not said in the in the
That's
definition,
ridiculous. I
which
mean,
would
like,
be crazy
could you-
because that is part and parcel of
That's
needle
all
drop.
music.
Yeah.
That's all music in
Yeah.
cinema, for God's sake. A score could be defined as that,
It could
basically.
be, right?
So, but other than that, I think anything goes pretty much.
Okay.
And I think I probably think of a great needle drop along the lines of Josh's. My favorite, though, being, and I'm actually, as I'm thinking about it, I'm not sure that this applies to any of the ones I actually ended up choosing, because I chose a lot of them based on some nostalgia, although I can make great arguments for all of them as well, I think. But I really like the contradiction, a piece of music that is dropped in contradiction to what's going on the
collides.
screen.
Colliding
That
is
was
really a
interesting.
nice
Yeah,
term.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that is a vast majority of, say, Martin Scorsese's use of music. He loves putting something that may be era appropriate over a sequence that otherwise has nothing to do with the music that you're listening to.
Interesting
And
that
it-
you
Yeah.
say that.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We may return to that.
You may
notion.
return to that. And I think as we get through my list, you'll have a couple that directly complement and some where there may be a little bit of a collision. I'm with you though, Josh. I love this topic so much. I as well, and I had so many good options. I felt that I really needed to set some boundaries as well. So I went a step further than you. And I started thinking about, could I approach this where, do I narrow my list down to a top 5 where I'm thinking about who are the most frequent and adept purveyors of the needle drop? And do I pick maybe a favorite from each of them? And I came up with a top 7. And I will share the top 7 later, but I did end up having 4 of those represented. I didn't go that route, but I still ended up having 4 of those top 7 represented. And I think you would probably guess who the top 7 are. But then here's where I did end up. I thought, arguably part of what makes needle drops so effective, very often anyway, is familiarity. That we usually recognize the songs and our relationship to them. Not always, but our relationship to them can inform our connection to the scene. And I wanted to go the other way and focus on something that I often go to the movies for, which is surprise and discovery. What's better with music than when Josh, you or Rico, if we're hanging out and you say, I've got a song you got to hear. Have you ever heard this band before? Have you ever heard this track before? And you play it for me and my mind is blown. And then I'm the biggest fan of this band now and I can't wait to go hear all of their songs. What's better than going to see a movie, hearing a song you've never heard before? You love the scene, you love the song, and now you just can't wait to hear more. And I said, you know what? I'm going to pick 5 where the filmmaker was introducing me to a song, and in some cases, a song and a performer that had me not only engaged as a movie viewer, but as a music listener. And I left the theater wanting to hear that song again, and I wanted to discover more of that artist's work. So all 5 of the cases, I'd never heard the song before, and even if I was familiar with the artists, in the moment I couldn't connect the song to that artist. So a good example of that would be in the Royal Tenenbaums. She Smiled Sweetly when Margot drops the actual needle drop on the record player in the tent with Richie.
How many stitches did you get?
I don't know. You want to say?
Of course I know the Rolling Stones, but I've never listened to that album, and I didn't know the track She Smiled Sweetly. I know Ruby Tuesday. That was on the radio. I didn't know She Smiled Sweetly. And I was like, I love this song. This is an incredible song. Now, I might have picked that, except, Rico, we have this thing on Filmspotting called the Pantheon, which is our little Valhalla of movies. And for us, those picks from those movies are ineligible. So even if I wanted to pick, the Royal Tenenbaums, I can't. You know what else I can't pick?
Goodfellas.
I can't pick. I was going to get there because that's the craziest one. I can't pick The End from The Doors from Apocalypse Now. I can't pick Hotel California from The Big Lebowski, The Sound of Silence from The Graduate, or These Days from the Royal Tenenbaums. I can't pick Layla from Goodfellas or Sunshine of Your Love from Goodfellas or any other track from Goodfellas. You could do an entire top 5 just from Goodfellas. ineligible.
that's true.
Because it's in the Pantheon. Let's go ahead and get into our lists. We're going to let you as our guest start. Rico, what's your number 5 needle drop?
Oh man, this is like starting a negotiation. You always want somebody else to go first to set the floor. So then I'm going to start with, I did not say that opening credit sequences were verboten. I did go with an opening credit sequence.
That's fine.
I'm looking through here. I don't think I picked any others, but this is, to me, one of the greatest opening credit sequences ever. And it's to Ghost World, the 2001 movie. And that opening sequence is set to interestingly, a piece of film music from the past and from a different country.
Jaan pehchan ho, jeena aasan ho.
It's a song called Yan Pehchan Ho. I hope that I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sung by Mohammed Rafi, and it was created by the team of Shankar Jakishan, who are one of the greatest songwriting duos in Indian film history. And I say all that like I know a ton about Indian film history. The fact of the matter is, if I know anything about Indian film history, it's because of first hearing that song in that movie. It was probably the first piece of Indian film music that I was exposed to that I somehow got. I always thought it was cool, like Indian film music is interesting, but I never felt it in my gut, or I never had a way into it to understand it. And for those who don't remember the movie, it is the character of Enid dancing. It's Thora Birch playing the character, and she's dancing happily and crazily in her room while watching the original Indian film from the 1960s that featured, and the sequence that featured that song. And she's dancing like crazy in a room while we actually see around her, the camera's panning in and out of windows in the suburbia that she's living in. And everybody else is in this kind of Dan Clausian, just kind of zombified form. They're just existing in their little rooms, doing nothing, watching television, being very bland. And she is dancing, wearing her cool clothes to this really cool track from this really cool movie. And it sounds like both an Indian piece of music, but also it has this surf music component to it, which is probably why I got into it. It's like there's this one Western element to it that makes me realize that there's some way that it jives with my world in a way. And it's a great track. I also, many moons later, went to the Netherlands and went to a dance club, and they were playing it. And there were all these Dutch people dancing like crazy to that song. And the fact that it has that effect on people is just wonderful to me. That sequence is incredible. And it also sets up exactly what the movie is about in a way. It's kind of like this bland environment where you've got somebody who's desperate to break out of it and is a unique individual trapped in this world.
That's it.
And her only way out is through music and images and film. You get it right away. It's a beautiful sequence.
As soon as you said the title, I could hear the song. I could picture the scene precisely. That's how you know it's a great needle drop.
That multicultural aspect too reminds me, Rico, of your Bend It Like Beckham episode where you talked about the use of music there. And obviously there's the connection with Indian culture, but even beyond that, that's what makes it, like a discovery, as you said, for yourself. And in the way Adam was talking about in his setup, looking for music discoveries. So I can probably place, I didn't think about that as a definition or a category, Adam, but I can probably place my number 5 pick there as well as a discovery. One thing I did try to resist doing is going, Adam, to our rap party picks for music moment of the year. Rico, this is a show we do every year, just kind of look back at different categories like funniest moment, music moment. And a cheat way of doing this list would just be go back to the years of all those and maybe picking those. And I thought that would be too easy. So I tried to resist that. But I did have to cheat a little bit because I am starting here with a discovery song that ended up being a scene of the year pick I made in 2020. And really I picked it because it's all about the music. And this is the a cappella sing-along to Janet Kay's Silly Games in Steve McQueen's Lovers Rock. a song I'd never heard before, Janet Kay completely unfamiliar with, until it was employed a couple of times in this movie, actually. It's not just the one sequence. This was Adam and I, we shared it as our number one film in 2020. It is one of the installments to McQueen's Small Axe anthology, which was set among London's Caribbean community. And Lovers Rock dramatizes one night at a 1980s house party. So obviously with that setting, music is crucial. The title itself refers to a slow groove romantic subgenre of reggae that emerged in England in the 70s. So yeah, Silly Games, you hear it a couple times throughout this party and throughout the movie, but the moment I'm picking specifically is late in the party and the DJ turns off the speakers. And the couples who are dancing just continue singing Silly Games a cappella for, I think it might be like 10 minutes that this goes on. And it really is a distillation of lovers rock. So in that construct I was talking about, complements, collides, or completes, I see this one as completing the movie, what it is trying to do. This is a movie all about creating this space for freedom. It's trying to especially create this space for these particular young people in this particular time in history, in this particular place.
You're as much to blame, 'cause I know you feel the same. I can see it in your eyes.
I love how the dancers become a choir here. It's like a needle drop still has a bit of distance between, even if it's diegetic, right? Even if it's something that's in the scene and the characters press play on the CD or literally drop the needle, there's still a bit of distance because they're listening, right? They're still receiving it as listeners. And this does something special where the characters actually become the performers so naturally, as might happen at a party like this. And suddenly they're the ones sharing the music. So they're this choir delivering this expression of community and unity, and they're creating this protective communal space. I also love, I mentioned this during that rap party show, but it's kind of cool that Dennis Bovell, who wrote Silly Games, does have a cameo on the dance floor during this sequence. So that's where I'm kicking my list off with a relatively recent pick, Janet Kay's Silly Games from Lovers Rock.
Yeah, almost made my list. In fact, for a while, had it at number 5. And that's because it checked the box for me. Had not heard the song, had not heard of the song or the artist until we saw Lovers Rock. And you're so right. It's communal. There are a lot of people dancing. It's so intimate. It's so sensual. And there's something about them all starting to sing on their own. It becomes like they're under a spell, and we fall under the spell of it too. It's such a scene. It's such a good movie.
I mean, I have at least one pick on my list that is someone in a movie listening to music. And I wonder what that's about. There's because I have a feeling there'll be more as we go through our list. And in the same way that at some point I recognize that a lot of my favorite scenes in movies are people playing some sort of game, either a playful game with each other, a verbal game. Actually, now that I think about it, there's a scene like that in one of the movies I have on my list. And there's something about watching somebody fall in love with a piece of music while you're falling in love with a piece of music. That's I'd have to think about what is the attraction of that. I mean, maybe it's obvious.
Sure.
But it is beautiful.
Yeah.
And if it can capture it, I mean, I think also we're music lovers, I think. So in a way, it's kind of evoking that experience that you know and have such a deep affection for, I guess, that gives it that little extra layer when you watch somebody fall in love with a piece of music.
Yeah. My number 5, I do have to say, it wasn't a complete introduction, a little bit of a reintroduction, but you'll abide my inclusion, I think, because I had never heard the version of the song by this band, by the original group. And the group is the Delphonics. The song is Didn't I, parentheses, Blow Your Mind This Time, from Jackie Brown, Quentin Tarantino's Jackie Brown. Of course, Quentin Tarantino, one of those top 7 and maybe in the top 2 or top 1 of those purveyors of the needle drop. But you know who did perform Didn't I Blow Your Mind This Time? You guys probably don't know. But I'll tell you who did perform Didn't I Blow Your Mind This Time back when I heard it in 1986.
Oh.
The New Kids on the Block.
Yeah, if my wife was here, she would have slapped me.
I gave my heart and soul to you, girl. Now didn't I do it, baby?
I have, I had 4 younger sisters, but my sister Melissa, the one directly below me, was a New Kids on the Block fan. And I remember her having a friend over at the house, and they were watching Hangin' Tough live, the New Kids on the Block live.
There you go.
And I was curious. I was starting to get into music, and I'm a year away from starting a band with my junior high friends, and so I'm starting to get a little pretentious, even though all I'm listening to is hair metal. So I'm judging the New Kids on the Block as I'm watching this concert. And this isn't revisionist history. I was not a fan of the New Kids on the Block, but they start performing this song. I don't know which songs they wrote or didn't write, and of course they didn't write any of them, but they start performing this song, and I'm like, something about this song is different.
The song survived. The song survived New Kids.
Like, this has a beautiful melody. It's got that call and response structure. It's got a really great bridge. It's got rich harmonies. It's got that incredible key change that happens in it. I'm like, this is just a great pop song. I'm like, I remember thinking, am I liking a New Kids on the Block song?
It's okay. It turns out it's okay.
How can I be enjoying this? And so, I didn't investigate it any further. We didn't have the internet back then at this point, right? Flash forward 11 years. I'm in the theater watching Jackie Brown. And Robert Forster's Max Cherry, the bail bondsman, has just taken Pam Grier's Jackie back to her house after a night in jail. And she decides to put on some music, puts on a record. I should get some extra points here for having an actual needle drop in my top 5 needle drops. She puts it on, puts the record on. Quentin Tarantino shows us the extreme close-up of the needle going on the vinyl.
They're listening to music.
Yeah. And the moment the opening lines come in, I give my heart and soul to you, girl.
I gave my heart and soul to you, girl.
I'm simultaneously thinking, holy crap, it's that New Kids on the Block song. And it's not a New Kids on the Block song. And I'm if not slowly falling in love with Jackie like Max is, I'm absolutely mesmerized by Jackie. Like,
now, Adam, are you
Max
sure you
is.
didn't say New Kids did this way better?
No, I did not think that. And Tarantino's just he's so smart. The first thing Max says about the music is it's pretty. And it is pretty, but the camera is on Jackie when he says it. And it's not only that it's Max's point of view, it's his angle looking up at her from the kitchen table that he's sitting at. It's because Tarantino shoots it all from Max's point of view. When she kneels down in front of the records, the camera tilts down just like Max's head would if he's looking at her when she kneels down. And then it just stays static. There's just cross-cutting between him and him looking at her from the kitchen table, static point of view, exactly as he would. And he's just watching her in her bathrobe. And those 2 shots, it's 2 shots, 1 cut. As the music starts playing, Jackie lighting a cigarette. She's lighting a cigarette in this kind of dingy apartment in a bathrobe against the sunlight of her shades. And the cut is to Max staring intently, just slightly tilting his head. And it's all just to the opening notes of that song, the Delphonics. And it's romantic as hell. And thankfully, Max, asks Jackie who it is. So I, as a viewer, understand that it's the Delphonics. I didn't have to think about it the rest of the movie. I got the answer to my question. And I also figured out that it wasn't the New Kids on the Block. It's okay that I loved it back in 1986. It's
great.
such a
By the way,
badass
I mean,
song.
like, kudos to
great
you for
scene.
picking like the least obvious Quentin Tarantino needle drop that exists. There are so many that immediately leap to mind.
I mean, I do.
And that is like deep.
Yeah. I guess I know
But it's-
most of those songs, but I didn't know Little Green
Sure.
Bag. That was a discovery. Good song, but this scene's amazing.
It's distinct to your point, Rico. It is another example of characters choosing the music for themselves. So the director is choosing it, of course, but in the reality of the movie, the characters are choosing it. And even in Tarantino, those move us differently. I'm thinking of in Pulp Fiction, right? When Uma Thurman puts the songs Not Coming to Me, but like there are many characters choosing in Tarantino movies the music, and those feel differently than when he drops them on us like a bomb, which are thrilling as well, because this is a skill he has. They operate in very different ways. So that's why, I mean, not only do I like this pick because it's my favorite Tarantino, but I think he's working in a different gear here, even though it's a tool he often employs.
Yeah, and the layers to it as well. Like Jackie's the kind of person, and they're adults at this point, where she's the kind of person who doesn't need to play any games and is just going to pick a song that she loves and she's going to play it because that's what she's in the mood for.
It's
but
for her, it's not for him.
Exactly. But she also is precisely the kind of person who in this movie is playing games. And everything she does is a precursor to another move that she's establishing. And she does need Max on her side. And she knows what she's doing when she puts on one of the most romantic, pretty songs of all time and stands there in her bathrobe and lights the cigarette in front of the shades, right? Like, she does know what she's doing.
But
I think
you
both things
mentioned
can be true.
Uma Thurman putting on Girl, You'll Be a Woman Soon in Pulp Fiction. Think about the difference between those two movies. One comes right before, it's Pulp Fiction and then Jackie Brown, right? Am I out of my mind? Yeah. And it's like,
94 and then 97.
It's like, this actually it almost perfectly illustrates something that at first was disappointing to me. Now I don't care. But at the time, I love all those movies. I loved Reservoir Dogs. I love Pulp Fiction. Love Jackie Brown. But I remember seeing, even when I saw Pulp Fiction, I remember thinking there are certain scenes. I always think about the moment in that movie where she comes back from the bathroom in the burger joint and says, "Don't you love it when you go to the bathroom, you come back and your food has arrived," which is 1,000% true and has never been in a film before. And I was like, this guy is an incredible observer of life. He this guy.
Yes.
Yeah. People
Something
think
we've
of
all
him as
thought.
this bloody action guy. There's actually not that many shootouts in his movies. There's just the threat of violence hanging over a lot of his movies. He's actually got this really incredible, insight into people. And he's going to be doing, any kind of movie he wants, he can do. And then he did Jackie Brown. I was like, look at that. You can see so much more of the kind of new wave French influence, in that movie and everything. And then it doesn't do as well. And then he doesn't do anything for a while. And then he comes back with Kill Bill. And at first I was very disappointed. It was like, you just gave them what they said you were, man. Like they want you to be this guy and you're more than that, dude. But I don't care anymore. And I actually did, especially when Kill Bill 2 came out, I was like, it's all for a reason. But at that moment, I was kind of like, you could take those two scenes and those are the difference. There's one where he's got Uma Thurman puts on Girl, You'll Be a Woman Soon. And she's like literally floating around the room. She's like dancing and doing all this stuff. In this movie, she puts it on and she just sits there smoking a cigarette in her dingy bathrobe. It's like the total opposite kind of vibe.
Yes.
Yeah. Still.
Amazing pick.
Rico, we are at your number 4.
Really? I got to top that. That's a really good cut. I'm going to go with it. This is a tie. Because I know you're going to say that this is cheating, but I think we can talk about them in tandem. Mainly because they had the exact same impact on me when I saw them, and they're kind of used in the same way, which is in Wings of Desire, Wim Wenders' 1988 movie, one of my favorite movies of all time. And it's both, well, I'll do them in chronological order in the movie. Crime in the City Solutions, Six Bells Chime, and Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds from Her to Eternity. Both of these are actual performances within the movie. They were both songs that existed before the movie came out, but in the movie you see the band sort of lip syncing to as though they're performing them. They're both in nightclub sequences. They're both in these kind of very how do I put it? They're like faded glamour nightclubs because it's being shot and is in a lot of ways about that movie, the Berlin of that period, which is just before the wall comes down. So it's a city that has a lot, it's still kind of in semi-ruins from World War II somewhat. It's still a kind of walled city. There's like all sorts of, and therefore it's very bohemian. It blew my mind at the time because I was in college radio at the time when this came out. And a lot of people were into goth. And I actually liked The Cure a lot. But The Cure kind of more poppy side of goth, particularly as I was getting into them. I thought of goth music as horror rock in my mind. It's people dressing like vampires, and some of it was pretty noisy and like spooky. And I kind of felt like it was kitschy maybe in some way. I didn't totally get what it was that attracted people to it. And that movie and these two scenes put it in context for me so that I understood the romance of goth music. It's about finding beauty in decay and darkness. And it so changed my aesthetics in like 30 different ways. It was like, it changed my musical aesthetics because I got that. I understood that there was something could sound maybe scary or gritty or something, but there's actually something totally different going on underneath it. And it did the same thing about places for me. It actually made me want to travel, that movie, which is not unusual. Wim Wenders movies are a lot about travel in a way, but it made me want to do a certain kind of travel, which is to find spaces like that, where music like that would be appropriate. That it's like a place that is beautiful but decaying, that has history to it, and is still got, and is still being used in a modern way. The kind of collisions of different eras, the fact that it was in, this faraway place, that people spoke a different language and just like did things slightly differently. And it's all got this ethereal overlay to it, because if anybody knows that movie, it's about an angel who falls in love with a woman. And in both of these scenes, the angel is with the woman and she doesn't know it yet. She's immortal. He's an angel watching her in the first scene with Crime in the City Solution. And this music is playing and she's swaying like all sort of gently. At one point, this non-corporeal being puts his hand over her hand and pretends he's holding it and kind of follows the arc of her hand down. It's this like totally beautiful, graceful, ethereal moment. It just epitomizes so many things for me, those two things. And it's a great example of what you were talking about is, going in and not knowing a song or not knowing, even for me, like really getting a genre and having it put in context for you so that it's like, not only do you get it, but now it's essential. I listen to that kind of music whenever I travel now.
Yeah. And Nick Cave, if a voice can be cinematic, he has one of those.
Yeah.
So it's just, any use of him probably would work on some level in a movie, but certainly does here.
I don't think I've seen Wings of Desire since since the 90s, since I was becoming a cinephile. One of the movies that transformed me. It's been that long, and you've made me now extremely eager to revisit it. I can't believe it's been that long. Talk about a movie we need to do a Sacred Cow on.
It's one of the most beautiful movies ever. Like no movie, literally physically, visually, no movie has looked like that since that film came out. The black and white in that film is insane, and paired with that music. And by the way, that's the other thing. If you listen, like the soundtrack for that movie is pretty popular because of tracks like that. And actually, if you listen to it, it sounds like pretty grim in certain ways. There's a lot of like sadness. There's like one song called Pas Attendre. I can't even remember who does it, but it's got like clanking kind of, industrial sounds. I think because a lot of that music was what was being made in Berlin at that time, and that movie's a love letter to Berlin. But it's bizarre that I now associate all those things with this beautiful love story that has, spoiler alert, a happy ending. That's the power of music. You can totally recast music like that.
And you need the visuals to recontextualize it. Yeah, yeah. All right, so for my number 4, I'm going to go from a surprise to a nostalgia pick. I think, it's only fair that nostalgia comes into play here for a list like this. And I realized I needed to have a track from a John Hughes movie. And this isn't necessarily because I was a little young for his run as a director and producer. in the 80s with teen movies. So we've got 16 Candles, Pretty in Pink, The Breakfast Club, Weird Science. I think the first one I actually saw was probably Ferris Bueller's Day Off. But these were in the air. So even as like a kid who's just a couple years behind going with friends to the theater to see these movies, you knew about them and you knew they were the thing to do. And absolutely you knew the music. I mean, it just from the radio, from the television commercials, from whatever, you knew the music. So even if you were too young to see the films themselves, you were aware of them. And talk about an embarrassment of new wave, early alternative riches. This is what you got in these John Hughes movies. I'm going to go with a song that I remember hearing the most from the movie I wanted to see the most, but couldn't. And that was 1985's The Breakfast Club, specifically Simple Minds' Don't You Forget About Me, used during the final moments. I try to stay away from opening credits. Do I stay away from end credits? Do I stay away from final scenes? But this one is interwoven into the final scene well before the credits. So we think of it, at least I do in my mind, as being a final credit song, but it's not. No. It starts a lot earlier in this sequence, which is after the group we've been hanging out with all day separates. They leave detention. For those, who need a reminder on Breakfast Club, it's basically a Saturday detention movie. Cross section of high school humanities who are hanging out with here. Prom Queen Claire, Molly Ringwald, Jock Andrew, Emilio Estevez, Burnout Bender, Judd Nelson, Nerd Brian, Anthony Michael Hall, and then Loner Allison, played by Ali Sheedy. So they've, against all odds, they've bonded over the course of the day across these social classes. And they're getting picked up in the final sequence by their parents in the final moments. And yeah, Don't You Forget About Me, as we watch them leave the building, get into their separate cars. And, Hughes gives them each distinct moments with their parents, who's picking them up. And then interestingly, if I'm remembering correctly, there aren't edits from one kid to the next. It's a lot where like the next car will pull up in the same frame.
Yes.
So it's kind of still holding them together as we're seeing them pulled apart. And the song playing over all of this is, of course, also holding them together with their wish. The wish they have at this moment is that this is what they're hoping. It's what we're hoping. I think it's what we know isn't going to happen. They want to remain friends come Monday morning, right? We dug into this when we did our Sacred Cow review of Breakfast Club, right, Adam? And if I recall, I think we were both kind of pessimistic, a little cynical about that. But for this moment, that's what everybody wants, right? And it's what the song is asking for. So yeah, just incredible use of Simple Minds. And I was glad I did finally get to see The Breakfast Club. And of course that revisit, revisit we did, it really holds up.
Weird.
I mean,
it does.
It's still a great movie.
It's been a while, actually. I think it might be like 10 years since I revisited that movie, but I was expecting 100% to, roll my eyes at it. And there's some pretty eye-rolly stuff. It's simplistic at points for sure. And also, by the way, Molly Ringwald has since, said that she had some discomfort with some of the sequences in that movie. So I think we should probably mention that. But it does
I think we did.
But it does still carry a lot of emotional, it's like pretty, it has some beautiful things to say, these kids really open up to each other. You can tell that they were feeling it in the moment. I remember even when it came out, all of those actors, there was like an article in, I think like Newsweek that I read at the time that it came out or something. And it was like all of those actors, every young actor in Hollywood wanted to be in that movie. They would have killed to be in that movie. And you can tell they all just gave it their all. And it's pretty beautiful. I do have some bad news though. I think that song was written for the movie. So I'm not sure it qualifies.
Good thing we didn't go by your definition.
Rico. Yes. See, this is why I don't make rules for myself.
Yeah. Not hard and fast rules. I would have never thought that. I just always assumed this was a Simple Minds song that pre-existed.
I believe it was written by like a writing crew for somebody to do. And it was brought to Simple Minds, and Simple Minds was like, we're going to do our own music. We don't do other people's music.
Yeah. I suppose the title makes sense, especially considering what you just said, Josh, about the end of the movie. When do you think then that when did you finally see The Breakfast Club?
I think, it had to be like a VHS catch-up, right? Once VHS became more popular and common and you were going hanging out at friends' houses, it's like, okay, this is one that I'm going to get to see. Unless I'm misremembering that, and it couldn't have been the first time for our Sacred
Okay,
Cow.
I just by 85, it wasn't uncommon for people to have VHS. I mean, in 85, I'd already seen this 100 times and had it memorized. That's how often we watched this film. So I love that this is on your list. It's such a great pick. And I don't want to downplay at all that you are positive on this movie. You did give it 4 stars when we revisited it, according to Letterboxd, out of 5. But I gave it 5 out of 5. That's how nostalgic I am for The Breakfast Club. So I'm so
Should
happy
be on your list.
I'm so happy that you put it there. I'm actually going. So it's so funny. You're going with a pick from a movie that in grade school and junior high, I probably would have said was the greatest movie ever. At least in grade school, I would have said was the greatest movie ever made. Maybe when I was in 6th or 7th grade. And now I'm going to go to a pick that is a song from a band that I never in junior high or high school would have admitted to liking. Now, in fairness, I didn't listen to them then. And you set me up nicely for this pick, Rico, with your number 4. And this is a choice. This is a director who I would consider another heavy needle dropper. And I like the choice because heavy is a really appropriate word for the song as well. There are a lot of options to go with from Sofia Coppola's catalog. There's a lot to go with just from Marie Antoinette. But my favorite happens to meet my criteria for this list, my main criterion. And 2026 me really digs The Cure. 2006 me was Cure curious, but as I was suggesting just a few moments ago, I wasn't a listener at all, even in 2006. And I didn't know when I saw this movie and reviewed it here on the show, I didn't know what song was playing when I heard it. I just knew, I thought it was a banger, and I had to look it up when Marie becomes queen and she and King Louis the 16th walk down descend the staircase and everyone's clapping for them. That moment, I just had to know what that was. There's no lyrics to it, but it was incredible. And the song is The Cure, Plain Song. We don't see a needle drop here, but part of what I love about it is that it feels like there's a drop. There's an illusion. It's just so heavy the way the song comes into that scene where King Louis XV has just died, and there's a series of shots where we see Schwartzman's Louis XVI being crowned his successor. And then a sound comes in on the soundtrack that it seems like it could be diegetic almost. It's kind of confusing. Like, it seems like chimes, and maybe they're coming from inside the church. Or maybe it's non-diegetic, but it's like part of a score. It doesn't sound like a pop song, but it would be totally appropriate for a score, for a scene where something so regal and sanctified is occurring. And we hear those chimes as we see this gorgeous close-up of Kirsten Dunst looking on at her husband being crowned. And the camera is just ever so slowly tracking forward on her. And her face is betraying very little, but it's suggesting perhaps some reverence for her husband, maybe some pride, but also, as I read it, some trepidation, maybe some anxiousness. And then the heavy part is we're still hearing these chimes, but then there's the cut from her face to the stairs. It's official. He's the king. She's the queen. And it is on a cymbal crash, and we get that huge synth bass sound. And it really does feel like the sound has just completely dropped, and we see them moving to that great adulation. And of course, like the rest of the movie, it's totally anachronistic. It feels like it could be the score from a prom scene, Josh, from an 80s movie like The Breakfast Club, almost, to be more appropriate for that. But the rhythm of it, the momentousness of it, it sounds sweeping. It sounds grand, like it should be. It's perfect for the scene. And then if you do go and listen to the song, if you listen to Plainsong, you realize that the chimes are part of the song. It isn't just the bass synth stuff, the keyboards or whatever. It's the chimes are actually leading into it, and that cymbal crash that then is the precursor to the synth. It's all part of the song, and that it's just such an elegant choice for that scene. It was like truly like it was made for that moment. And I suppose it makes sense that the reverse is true, that Sofia Coppola just knew how to perfectly execute the visuals around the music. And maybe that's exactly what she had in mind is the way she actually did execute it. I love it.
I think that may be also why because it presages a party sequence. It segues from this regal thing into a party sequence all within the same song. Yes. And it maybe is partially why that is one of the great party sequences of all time, because it gets across how a great party feels when you're young. It feels like more than a party. It's like, this is where it is at.
It's all happening.
It's very Almost Famous.
Yes.
And you know that she knows her music, because it's a rare song that's going to be able to do that, where you can pivot from something that grand into something that youthful. And I mean, it's interesting because when I first saw that movie, I could have sworn, because she's the kind of person that would do this and has in fact used bands like New Order. And I thought for sure this must have been early Factory Records, like a much earlier song. I thought that it was like maybe one of those deals, and it's actually a late model 80s tune. It's like, for me, it's a deeper cut. It's a deeper cut Cure song, and a pretty astute one to use.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Adam, you're warming my heart here. Is this your first Sofia Coppola top 5 pick? It might be.
It's possible.
Actually.
It's possible. You went with The Breakfast Club, and I went with Sofia Coppola. We've switched bodies here for this top 5.
Apparently, and The Cure. I mean, listen, I'm not going to claim I was listening, Disintegration era, but Wish was kind of my like, oh, why have I not been into The Cure? And yeah, the way it works in this sequence and Coppola uses it is absolutely brilliant. So what a win these lists have been for me so far
also,
already.
By the way, Gang of Four kicking off that movie is a total genius choice too. I thought for sure when you were starting to talk about that movie, I was like, oh, it's going to be that tune, because it's crazy.
Like I said, so many options, so many.
And also, you're talking about seeing a character actually like drop the needle. That would not have been out of place in that movie. No, like we have the Converse sneakers,
you're right.
I mean, so we might as well have somebody, dialing up The Cure on a record player or something like that. So a reminder, we will have picks 3 through 1 coming your way. Look for that in the feed on Sunday. Right now, let's take a few minutes to thank some members of the Filmspotting family. Membership in the family is the single source of support for the show. We are independently produced, and so the support we get from our listeners is how we're able to keep doing this. This is the last weekend. If you're listening to this as soon as the show dropped, this will be the last weekend for you to get our 20% off discount that we are offering for family membership. We're doing this through August 31st. All you have to do is use the promo code SUMMER at filmspottingfamily.com, and you can join the family for 20% off. We want to thank family members Michael Shaw, who's in LA, and Mikey Rogers in Nashville.
Okay, Michael and Mikey. We start with Michael, who says he found us on a colleague's recommendation. American Fiction and What Siskel and Ebert Got Wrong were among early listens, but I went back at least as far as Josh and Michael's review of Sorry to Bother You. Reviews we got wrong. Almost every blockbuster/superhero movie that could have been devoted to a potential Golden Brick nominee. Apologies to the blockbuster aficionado. So he wants more art house stuff.
Yes.
Doesn't mean we were wrong.
Just a Golden Brick show is what Michael wants. It sounds like not a bad idea.
A movie he credits with becoming a cinephile. I'm not sure I've earned genuine cinephile status, but A Clockwork Orange was the first film that made me in awe of the power of film.
Mikey says, Josh's book, Movies Are Prayers, was recommended to me by a friend. I found the book to be really encouraging, both as a person of Christian faith and as a cinephile. This led me to check out the podcast. Though not an official Film Spotting review, I got to attend part of Cinema Interruptus for Phantom Thread on a trip to Chicago last December. Hearing how Josh facilitated discussion of the film inspired me to become a more regular listener of the show. Well, thank you, Mikey.
Thank you for getting us some listeners, Josh.
I mean, I do what I can. I'm out there on the streets, Adam. For Mikey, a review we got wrong, Dune and Dune Part 2. I think with enough patience, these movies are aesthetically rich and thematically profound. Though Josh and Adam didn't deride the films, I didn't get the enthusiasm I was hoping for towards such a top quality fantasy blockbuster.
Not much enthusiasm, no.
I mean, I feel
Not
like
for
I'm
me.
getting roped into your lack of enthusiasm, Adam. I
don't know how you
appreciate-
feel, really. I can't remember. I'm saying I'm not enthusiastic.
I know you aren't, and I'm taking the blame for it. I'm positive on both films. Maybe I'm not quite as enthusiastic as Mikey, I guess. Okay. As for a movie that Mikey credits with becoming a cinephile, Captain America, The Winter Soldier, saw it in theaters when I was 12. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Mikey, for joining the family and for listening. You can follow Mikey on Letterboxd at Mikey Rogers 58. This response in the questionnaire we got from Michael said, not on Letterboxd yet, but may bite the bullet soon. You should do that, Michael. It's a lot of fun.
If we're throwing out cliches, bite the bullet, take the plunge, do whatever you have to do, Michael. It's worth it. More about joining the Filmspotting family is available at filmspottingfamily.com. You get to listen early and ad-free. You get access to that Filmspotting family only feed that lets you listen ad-free, whether it's on Apple, Spotify, whatever platform you choose. You get our weekly newsletter. You get access to the Filmspotting Family Discord. You also get access to our monthly bonus shows. We have not yet taped it, but coming soon, you will hear our August blind spotting discussion of Kiyoshi Kurosawa's Cure from 1997. That's an interesting film. Will be an interesting
Put me through
one.
the ringer.
Yeah, to have a dialogue about. That's streaming on the Criterion channel and available VOD. We plan to drop that in your family feed on August 30th. And in September, Trivia Spotting, exclusive for family members. So if you would like to play Trivia Spotting, you got to be a Filmspotting family member. Check your email. You should have an invite in your email. RSVP for that if you would like to play. Remember, the promo code is summer, and it is only available through August 31st to take 20% off. Filmspottingfamily.com.
What if we're supposed to suffer here? But if that's the point, I'll do it. For him.
It's time for some golden brick spotting. It Ends is new in theaters this weekend. A car full of recent grads heads out for a final hang before they go their separate ways. A wrong turn puts them on an unfamiliar road that seems to never end. The plot description available online, Josh refers to it as a two-lane hellscape. You have seen It Ends, which is from first-time feature writer-director Alexander Ulam. Producer Sam suggests that I should ask you if hellscape is an accurate description, but what producer Sam doesn't know and what you don't know is that I have a pretty good idea whether or not hellscape is accurate, because it turns out that just prior to sitting down to record this show with you,
Did you fit it in?
I managed to fit in It Ends.
Nice.
Now, I do feel like I am still processing this film.
Yeah,
and
I believe it.
I want to leave the review officially up to you, but I can co-sign any recommendation of this and do feel like it is deserving of any
Nice.
golden brick nomination that you may give it. This is a really good film. The question I'm most eager to ask you is Gen Z okay?
No, they're not. And they shouldn't be. Think of what they're going through. Now, here's the other question. Does It Ends directly address specifically what they're going through in this moment in time? Does it address what anyone graduating from college is going through? I think for me, it's maybe somewhere in the middle, which is partly why I think it's a really good movie, is because it's topical but universal.
Yes. Specific
to that,
but universal enough.
Yeah. Yeah. To the hellscape question, I think what I would tell people, I do not want to spoil anything because I had no idea beyond that basic premise where this was going. It definitely begins like a Waiting for Godot type puzzler, existential, vaguely allows you to ruminate on these big questions. And just before the title drops, takes a, shall we see, a zombie movie like turn, though this is not a zombie movie.
It is not.
Want to be clear about that. But it makes a turn that brings it a little closer to maybe a hellscape. But really what I loved about this is it's a malleable metaphor movie. And but it's not so vague that it means nothing, but it could precisely mean a lot of things to different people because of the care that Alom, as writer-director making his feature debut, puts into this and the details of this constricted world that he provides. I think it allows you to think that this could be, about a number of things. For me, most richly, it is about the obvious question of, am I now going to enter the monotony of responsible adulthood? That's the universal part, right? At the same time, I'm eager to see what other interpretations people have, specifically moviegoers of the age of these characters, and see how it resonates with them, because I think it has that power. I also want to call out the lead performance. Well, it's not a lead performance. It's maybe the lead of this ensemble.
I think it is.
Phineas Ewan as James, who is this cynical, sarcastic, very funny, the kind of guy who says no offense to his friend, and then is going to follow it with something quite offensive.
He's acerbic. It's a sharp performance.
It's a sharp performance, but then on top of that, he finds ways to layer it with gestures that speak to the deep emotionality going inside this young man as well. The one that comes back to me, and maybe this was written into the script, but it's where he writes in marker his name on the headrest at one point, and then just slowly smudges it out. And the sense of sort of resignation and loss, and the loss of yearning. It's not even that he's yearning. It's like the loss of yearning that communicates. It's an incredible performance, I think, in this movie. And Ullum as director too manages ways. I think here's where it's Golden Brick worthy is not only the idea, the sort of, clever visionary idea, but the filmmaking here really manages to make this constricted setting compelling. I keep thinking of a shot which we've seen a million times. The camera's inside the car looking outside as they're just driving past these woods continually, right? And in the same shot, you see the trees blurring by outside the window, but he also has the side mirror, which is capturing the trees blurring from another angle. And it's all in the same shot. And the way that just, evokes their experience of the bizarre passing of space and time it's just a really visually insightful touch that I think this movie is full of. But what did I totally, you having just seen it, I can't imagine the way your mind is whirring, not because it's so puzzling, but because it opens so many possibilities. No, I feel like.
Yeah, no, I had a similar reaction, I think, to you, in that the Yoon performance stood out very much to me. I do think the overarching metaphor of it seems very malleable. I think that's the right term. I think a lot of different people could attach their own significance to it. At the same time, it feels very much of this generation. I have to imagine that people graduating like these characters are going to feel a bit more potency, are going to feel a little bit more indicted's the wrong word, because it's not an assault on them necessarily, but they're going to feel a little bit more of an attachment, if you will, to these characters. The thing that surprised me about it is that it is a high concept. There's no doubt. And it's a minimalist type film. And so as a viewer, if you're captivated enough by it, if you're intrigued enough by it, as I was, you can't help but think, where is this going? How is this journey going to end? I don't know that any ending can be 100% satisfying. And I don't know if it is 100% satisfying, but at the same time, watching it, I was so pleasantly surprised with how effectively Ullum kept it feeling vibrant, kept it feeling like there was always something new, that there was not only something new always to look at, the way these characters were finding ways to pass the time, finding new ways to emotionally challenge themselves, to have new ways that they were in tension with each other and in tension with themselves. That's one of the challenges as a viewer watching the film, is just thinking, how are we going to pass the time with these characters and keep it interesting and keep it from getting monotonous? And it didn't feel that way. It never got to that point for me with these characters.
Yeah, I'd agree. And to your point about the ending is, when you come up with a high concept like this, you're setting yourself up to fail with an ending that's going to be completely satisfying for everyone. I kind of loved where this ended with a mixture of mystery and humor.
Yeah.
And without undercutting anything that came before. I feel like. So that is, again, for a emerging filmmaker, that is a challenge you set for yourself. Not only the box visually, physically you've placed yourself in, but also having to come up with a resolution to this concept. And I think Ullum manages both pretty impressively.
We really can't get into this because it would be spoiler, but I'm just going to ask you this generally anyway. The number 90 seconds has significance in this film.
Yeah.
Do you have a theory on that? Have you researched that?
I haven't. Why exactly that amount of time? No, I have researched other bizarre things related to this movie, but not that. So you've piqued my curiosity. Do you have something?
I think I have something.
Okay.
It can't be random, right?
No.
It just cannot be. But why
as
would it
well
be that?
Thought out
why
as
would
this
it be
movie
that
is,
number?
It can't be. Right.
No, it simply can't be. And so I think I have a theory. I don't think it's that incredible, that remarkable. But it seems kind of obvious to me, or it just pedestrian, if you will. But I don't know what else it could be in relation to this film and the state that these characters are in. But I'm just curious, and I'll have to run it by you off air and see what you.
Oh, because it would spoil. It would spoil.
It would give away. It would certainly give away the state these characters are in, which I don't think we want to get into those kind of details.
Okay, fair enough.
At this point for people who are coming to this movie fresh, and we are recommending that people see It Ends, and we are going to add it to our list of Golden Brick nominees over at filmspotting.net. It opens in limited release this weekend.
What are you doing here?
I'm coming with you.
No, please get out.
I can't. I made a double bet with Ken, and you can't make me look uncool in front of Ken.
Ken's not cool.
He is to me.
Time to take a look at some poll results. A couple of weeks ago, we asked you to choose a director's third feature that was released since 2020. I said this wasn't arbitrary. It's not arbitrary, but now you're going to have to remind me what the tie-in to the show was. Josh.
Oh my gosh.
What third feature were we discussing on the show?
A recent. Wow, Adam, you're
what was
really
the movie
you're really
we were
putting us
talking
both
about?
on the spot here.
It's too late as we're recording.
We're failing our producer Sam.
We are failing.
On this.
Jane Schoenbrunn, of course, in Teenage Sex and Death at Camp.
Of course, the answer is that obvious.
The movie that we both think is the best of the year so far, that we just reviewed 2 shows ago, is the tie-in for this poll question.
Sometimes doing this show is like being in a car on a road that just never ends. And
Interesting
you forget
theory.
you forget like what show you did when, and they blend
Where's the
together.
turn, Josh?
And where is the turn?
Did we miss it? I think we missed it. So your options were these: Greta Gerwig's Barbie, Ari Aster's Beau is Afraid, Brady Corbet's The Brutalist, Olivia Wilde's The Invite, Chloe Zhao's Nomadland, Jordan Peele's Nope, Robert Eggers' The Northman, or you could go other, write in a candidate that we failed to include in the poll. Josh, how did it come out?
Always notable when other is not in last place.
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, it is not. Last place goes to Ari Aster's Beau is Afraid with 4% of the vote. Other did get 5%. And then right there with those two is Robert Eggers' The Northman with 6%. Chloe Zhao's No Man Land, 8% of the vote. The Brutalist, 9%. Little jump up here for The Invite. Obviously, the most recent option in this poll. The Invite still received 12% of the vote. I mean, that's pretty impressive, actually. But it was going to come down to these two, Nope and Barbie. Barbie took it. 31% of the vote for the win. That means 26% went to Nope. But yeah, Greta Gerwig for the win here.
Almost a third going to Greta Gerwig and Barbie. Here's Andy Bucati. He says, when you factor in the degree of difficulty of taking the general concept of freaking Barbie and turning it into a film, actually, I'm not familiar with that version of Barbie, freaking Barbie. What store is that available at? And turning it into a film that appealed to all ages and genders, appealed to the masses and the art house crowds and the critics, was the highest grossing film domestically of the entire year and garnered copious end-of-year accolades, including 8 Oscar nominations. What an accomplishment. And yet, despite all that, it's still her third best film. What a filmmaker.
I mean, freaking Barbie, clearly Weird Barbie's sister, Adam.
Good point. You're right.
All right. Devin Suber wrote in, most filmmakers would kill to have a scene half as good as the Star Lasso experience. Incredibly, it's not even the best sequence in the film. Gordy's home, raining blood. And don't even get me started about seeing inside jean jackets. Still one of the most disturbing things I've ever seen. Nope was my number one film of 2022 from the moment I saw it, practically as soon as those scenes hit. And nothing could ever even begin to dislodge it. Along with Schoenbrunn, Peele is one of those filmmakers you only need to mention to get my butt in that seat.
Here's Rob Steger. It could be recency bias, but The Invite really knocked me flat, so I'm giving it a slight edge over Nope today. And Josh, you know this. I didn't think there was, well, it's not that I didn't have good or high expectations for The Invite after your high praise and all the good buzz, but it didn't seem that likely that a feature by Olivia Wilde was going to fare well in any poll that I'm voting in after my mixed take on Booksmart and my very negative take on Don't Worry, Darling. But having now had the pleasure of catching up with The Invite, it's one of the films of the year.
Love it.
Very easily.
You're on board.
Very
and
easily.
I imagine if it came out a year ago and we did this poll, it would be giving Barbie some pretty tough competition.
Yeah, maybe so.
Here's Patrick. The esteemed Sam Van Halgren gave No Man Land 5 stars on Letterboxd, which is my vote. That is all. The defense rests. Okay, Patrick.
It gives me no pleasure to ridicule Chloe Zhao or Frances McDormand, but Patrick, you know that Sam is wildly incorrect sometimes, right? Just wildly off base.
But usually not positively, right? I mean,
you're right.
Wait,
probably...
I forgot about Temple of Doom. Never mind. Take that back. Sam, cut that out.
Yeah. Good point. Here's Kyle Crichet. Beau is Afraid without question. So Kyle somehow made up all 4%. Just
there it is.
Hitting the vote over and over again. Beau is Afraid without question. So deeply unhinged and chaotic, but Aster is always in control. It's one of the most overlooked films of the decade. And as time goes on and Aster's career continues, it will be looked back on as a masterpiece. Well, now we at least know what Kyle's, or I should say, what Ari Aster's nom de plume is. It's Kyle Crichet.
That is bold, Kyle. We shall see. You may prevail in the end. Here's our friend Jeffrey Overstreet. It's between Gerwig and Peele. Both third films delivered on the promise of the previous two and made me all the more eager to see what comes next. But wait, we're forgetting someone. Doesn't director Tom Moore qualify? The master of Cartoon Saloon's innovative animation studio directed The Secret of Kells in 2010, then Song of the Sea in 2014, and then Wolf Walkers in 2020. I'd argue that Wolf Walkers is the most visually enthralling of the three. We find him elaborating on the stylistic strength of the first two. If I learned that new films from Moore, Peel, and Gerwig were opening next weekend, I'd buy tickets for all three, but I'd go for Moore's first and maybe more than once. Okay.
I love the take. I love it anytime someone's advocating for a filmmaker that certainly is not getting enough attention, but I have a feeling if we included Tom Moore in the poll, he would have gotten less of a percentage than Ari Aster.
I think that's probably true. It's just, a little bit of an animation bias, or should I say animation awareness. Those are all great films, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I could put them up against Nope or Barbie.
A few more here. JP Aguirre. I will definitely have to vote for B. Gahn's masterpiece, Resurrection. I don't think any film has blown me away in originality and ambition as this one. Not only do I think it's one of the best films of this decade, but for me might be one of the best of all time. The others are Kaylee Blues. Is that Kaylee Blues, Josh? That's what it looks like as it's spelled in front of me. I haven't seen it, nor have I seen Long Day's Journey into Night from 2018. I am sadly deficient when it comes to that filmmaker.
JP is shaming us both here, so I'm afraid I can't help you out. Mark Friedman says this: Todd Field deserves this nod for Tar. He moved out of the small/searing family drama and into a different realm of epic, big personality tragedy with Tar. And he guided an already great actor, Blanchett, toward her all-time greatest performance. And yeah, Todd Field, In the Bedroom and Little Children before this. Didn't he come up when there was discussion of the poll?
We certainly knew that he qualified. We just all felt like it was a different poll with Todd Field in it. It didn't feel like the same generation of filmmakers. And that is certainly the case if we're including RMP's vote, which is Victor Arise, who also has just three: The Spirit of the Beehive from 1973 and El Sur from 1983. And amazingly, 2023's Close Your Eyes. He has my vote for that last one and my gratitude for them all. I've only seen The Spirit of the Beehive. So thank you for reminding us.
I like where RMP is going. I've seen that, and Close Your Eyes made my top 10 list that year.
Really?
So, but again, it's a situation of the space between those films is just different than the experience we were thinking of when we look at who was in the poll, where these are filmmakers who had in succession building excitement, building expectation. Little different there in the case of Arise. But Close Your Eyes, great film.
I knew Close Your Eyes sounded familiar, and I'm trying to kind of quickly, I'm trying to look up to see whether or not I had actually seen it, and I was speaking out of turn, and I have seen it, and I was very favorable on it. So we must have talked about it on the show, and it turns out only El Sur is one of those three films that I have not seen. Thank you to everyone who wrote in and shared your feedback and everyone who voted in that poll. The new Deeply Flawed Filmspotting poll is inspired by this weekend's re-release of T2 Judgment Day. We're asking you to choose one and only one 90s movie villain. Josh, the choices are
Agent Smith from The Matrix, Annie Wilkes. I should pause between each of these so listeners can get a chance to, who's Annie? Oh, Misery. That's right. Okay, this one's obvious. Hannibal Lecter, The Silence of the Lambs. How about John Doe? That's 7. Scar, of course, The Lion King. T-1000, obviously, Terminator 2, Judgment Day. And yes, we will have the category of other. A lot of suggestions on the Filmspotting Discord, which is a benefit for Filmspotting family members. People there threw out Nicolas Cage's Castor Troy from Face Off, Billy Zane's Cal Hockley in Titanic, Warden Norton, Shawshank Redemption. Wow. How about this? Shooter McGavin, the villain, Adam, of Happy Gilmore. Kaiser Sose, of course, Usual Suspects. And I don't know, Mr. Blonde from Reservoir Dogs. Is he a villain? Is he?
Are you going to bark all day, little doggy? Are you going to bite?
I guess I wouldn't want to hang out with them. Unforgiven, we could also include Little Bill, someone suggested. So I don't know. Do you have an obvious answer from the official options?
It's tough because all of those choices feel pretty good to me. And if you look at, like, I hadn't looked at this list before we put this poll, but as I Google it and you look at the AFI 100 years, 100 heroes and villains list, you've got, naturally, as you'd expect, Hannibal Lecter's number one. So you've got a 90s movie villain at number one. You've got, I'm sure there's a few other 1990s villains on there. You know who actually one of them is that isn't on this list? Annie Wilkes is on the list. Number 17, Eamon Goeth from Schindler's List.
Oh, interesting.
Wow. So I could see that. These feel like pretty iconic, intense, scary movie villains from the 90s. It depends on how you're approaching it, obviously, as always. Going back to what you said, though, if you are taking that to heart, I am only taking that to heart because, Josh, when I first saw, for example, Agent Smith, it's kind of easy for me to write off Agent Smith because there's nothing really compelling about Agent Smith. It's just a machine. And that's kind of true with the T2. Now, T2 is more interesting to me. The T1000 is more interesting to me for whatever reason. Maybe it's just nostalgia. Then, I was younger and he's visually more interesting too. Yeah. And I was younger when I saw the movie. I have a stronger attachment to the film. There's something about that character that I'm drawn to more. But something about Agent Smith is just kind of, I don't really care that much. I'm more interested in John Doe. I'm more interested in Hannibal Lecter even, because Hannibal Lecter at least is provocative. Hannibal Lecter at least makes us question things about us, right? And the nature of good and evil, and we're drawn to him, even though we're also terrified by him, and we find him repulsive in so many ways. Whereas Agent Smith is just whatever. He's just there to stop us from doing good things. So
good performance, great,
sure.
But I see what you're saying.
And Scar kind of similarly is like, Scar's just a bad lion or whatever. Who cares?
Whoa. Okay,
and I love Jeremy Irons, but
okay,
no.
Now, if we go with the construct, the theory that I said at the top, that a good villain you can have sympathy for, or you can understand the motivations.
Scar, Josh.
That's Scar, right?
Is he?
That's Scar.
I haven't seen it.
He's the
since
overlooked
93.
brother. I can sort of understand where Scar is coming from. But I'm going to go your way. You often feel like there's a clear answer. Like there's a Mount Rushmore, right? A singular, in this case, there's only one face that should be on the 90s villain Mount
answer?
Rushmore. Yes.
Is there? Did I guess right?
There's Hannibal Lecter.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to go with Annie Wilkes. No, yeah, it's Hannibal Lecter, of course.
It's Hannibal. I mean, this is...
It's like, what is this? What are we doing here?
What are we doing?
I know.
And I have no sympathy for Hannibal Lecter or even want to understand his motivation. But so I'm going against my own reasoning here.
Most interesting character, most interesting performance. It's
okay.
Iconic, unquestionably the most iconic.
Let's proceed anyway, and let's see if we're both wrong.
We'll pretend this is actually a poll question, and we'll mock everybody who voted for someone else, and
that sounds like fun.
We'll pretend to read their comments with interest.
Exactly.
Okay.
I could do it. Okay.
Vote and leave a comment at filmspotting.net. We'll share the results and your comments in a couple of weeks. Josh, that is our show.
If you want to connect with us on social media, you can find Adam and the show on Instagram, Facebook, Letterboxd, YouTube, and Blue Sky at Filmspotting. I'm at Larson on Film. We are independently produced and listener supported. You can support the show by joining the Filmspotting family at filmspottingfamily.com. You can listen early and ad-free. You'll get monthly bonus episodes, a weekly newsletter, and access to the entire show archive. For show t-shirts and other merch, go to filmspotting.net/shop.
Bad Lion is definitely the next name of my band. American Doctors, playing at the Gene Siskel Film Center. That's a documentary about 3 American doctors saving lives while risking their own in Gaza. Colony is the latest from the director of Train to Busan. Idiots It's about two idiots of the title, Dave Franco and O'Shea Jackson Jr. They're hired to transfer a rich teen to rehab. It's written and directed by Macon Blair. The Sun Never Sets is the latest from Joe Swanberg. It stars Dakota Fanning, Jake Johnson, and Corey Michael Smith. It ends also out in limited release and recommended by both of us. In wide release, you can see Buddy, kids TV star Buddy, an orange unicorn, starts to crack when a kid refuses to play along. Our friend Isaac Feldberg says, good God, this goes so much harder than you're expecting. The cast includes Kristen Milioti, Keegan-Michael Key, Michael Shannon, and Patton Oswalt. I'm in.
We've got to congratulate Isaac too.
Oh, I saw that. New gig at
Letterboxd. So very exciting news. Congrats, Isaac.
Yeah. Coyote versus Acme is being seen by people on screens. Wile E. Coyote sues Acme Corp with Will Forte and John Cena. T2 Judgment Day, 35th anniversary re-release. We'll go ahead and tell people now we will be late to this because it's coming out in theaters now, but we do have this penciled in a few weeks from now to revisit this as a sacred cow. So yeah, it should be fun if that does indeed come to fruition. Ridley Scott's The Dog Stars with Jacob Elordi, Margaret Qualley, and Josh Brolin is also out. Next week in your Film Spotting feed, The Movie Racket with Michael Phillips returns. Here is the law of motion pictures they will be wrestling with. It's a Samuel Golden quote. I love it. It's going to be a great show. Pictures are for entertainment. Messages should be delivered by Western Union.
I like that one.
They'll debate it. Tuesday on Filmspotting SVU, it's Desert Warrior on Hulu, a 7th century Arabia set epic with Anthony Mackie, Sharon Copley, and Ben Kingsley. It's directed by Rupert Wyatt, who made Rise of the Planet of the Apes. On Thursday, it's part 2 of the Next Picture Show's pairing with The End of Oak Street and Steven Spielberg's The War of the Worlds. And then this is going to be great. On Friday, Film Spotting, a draft, me, you, Roxana Haddadi, drafting Ridley Scott films.
You know what I just picked up from the library today?
What?
My DVD of G.I. Jane.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
Never seen.
No.
See, there you go.
I do have maybe 3 other Ridley Scott films I kind of want to watch ahead of G.I. Jane.
Yeah, I get it.
I don't know if the draft will actually go that deep that I need to watch these films, but I kind of want to watch them, and you never know. Maybe I'll watch G.I. Jane.
You're saying Roxana, or maybe I'm not going to take G.I. Jane number 1?
I don't know. Not number 1. I have a pretty good feeling about that. So we do have to find out who's going to draft first, what the order is going to be.
Yes.
Who's going to be so unlucky as to not get Alien or Blade Runner. Who's going to have to pick G.I. Jane third. That's what we'll have to find out with the draft order. Look forward to that draft coming Friday.
Film Spotting is produced by Golden Joe Deso and Sam Van Halgren. Without Sam and Golden Joe, this show wouldn't go. Our production assistant is Sophie Kempenaar. Special thanks to everyone at WBEZ Chicago. More information is available at WBEZ.org. For Film Spotting, I'm Josh Larson.
And I'm Adam Kempenaar. Thanks for listening.
This conversation can serve no purpose anymore. Goodbye.